Did you know that learning to lie is actually a sign that your children are growing up? When children begin to lie, it shows they are making important progress in their brain and social skills. It's common and normal for little kids to lie. Of course, normal or not, deceiving others isn't something we want our kids to make into a habit. Hey there, I'm Dr. Dave, and on today's Thrive in 5, I'm excited to share some tips about how to help our kids learn to tell the truth. All right, sometimes it would be nice if our kids were a little like Pinocchio and had noses that would grow so we know when they're lying, right? But a lot of the time, it's pretty clear when they're not telling the truth. Like when they insist they never touch the cake, but then they have crumbs all over their face and frosting on their fingers, right? Either way, lying can really push our buttons and make us worry about teaching our children good values that help their moral development and character. It can also be a pretty touchy subject for our children. So, what can parents do to help their kids be truthful? Well, here's some tips. First, remember that your child might not be trying to be bad when they don't tell the truth. Sometimes, when they're really little, kids' imaginations can blur with reality a bit, so they're not sure what's true and what they're making up. So many times, they're not trying to deceive you, they just get carried away a little bit. But other times, they may lie because they're embarrassed, or they want to avoid making you angry, or get into trouble, or to get something they want. Getting to the heart of your child's why for lying can help you handle a current lie in a way that will help them be less likely to lie in the future. Okay, tip number 2. Okay, this one is so important. Don't shame your child or label them a liar. I know it can sure be tempting to call them a liar, but if you do consistently, they may think that that is what they'll always be, a liar, which makes them more likely to lie again, not less. Instead, focus on the behavior. Teach them that lying isn't okay and why. Acknowledge that it can be hard and scary to tell the truth sometimes, but that in the end, we feel better when we do, and it hurts other people and us when we don't. And try to keep the big picture in mind. What are you really trying to teach your child? You probably don't want them to see themselves as a liar. Rather, you're trying to guide them toward being truthful, right? Tip number 3, don't tempt your child to lie. This one can be tough sometimes. If you can clearly see that they did something wrong, it's best not to set them up to lie by asking them if they did it. It's also not helpful to accuse them. They may lie out of embarrassment or to avoid getting in trouble. Instead, making it easier for them to tell the truth by approaching the situation more directly. Describe what you see. I see crumbs on your face, and describe how you feel. I'm kind of bummed that you didn't wait until the party to eat the cake. Now, you can also acknowledge their feelings. It can be really hard to wait for a treat, huh? And teach them why their behavior was wrong. Then come up with a plan to help with similar situations in the future and help them make amends if they can. These tools are also helpful if you know they've already told you something that isn't true. Show understanding of why they would choose to lie and then teach and problem solve together. Showing understanding can also encourage them to tell the truth about things we don't normally think about, like what they think or they feel. For example, if your son says he wishes he didn't have a sister, resist the urge to tell him that he really loves his sister. Instead, acknowledge his feelings without agreeing or disagreeing by saying something like, "Boy, it can sure be hard when she messes up your games. That's frustrating, I'm sure. Sometimes you wish she would just leave you alone." Okay, tip number 4. Patiently help your child learn how to be honest. You can do this by setting a good example yourself, acknowledging and validating feelings in simple but clear teaching and correction. Remember that it can take some time for little kids to learn the difference between what's real and true and their imagination. And sometimes they simply exaggerate. And you can provide gentle guidance when acknowledging the feeling behind the exaggeration. For example, if your daughter claims to be the best dancer in her whole school, you can say, "You sure love to dance, don't you?" So when our children outright lie, it's normal to feel upset. At the same time, we need to resist the temptation to punish them. Punishment doesn't help with the real problem and can actually distract our kiddos from the lesson they need to learn. It just leads them to feeling sad or angry. Okay, instead, keep the focus on the direction you want them to go. telling the truth, and guide them in a way that helps them maintain or even strengthen the connection between you and them. This will help them to be more open to your direction and correction now and in the future. So those are my parenting tips for helping your kids tell the truth. First, look for the why behind the lie, and remember that your child may not be trying to be bad. Second, do not label them a liar. Third, don't tempt them to lie. And fourth, patiently help them learn to be honest.